We are back. 3, 2, 1. So on this keyboard, actually, we cannot be able to do sound design on this keyboard. Yeah, that's the actual fact. We can only do editing on this keyboard. Shortly, I will also bring us to that aspect. So, but for orchestration, first of all, you have to understand what am I hearing, and you don't, for you to be very sure. So we start again. 3, 2, 1. For a good orchestration on the keyboard, you really need to understand what the orchestra does. There are different sections of the orchestra family. We have the strings, the woodwinds, the brass, the percussion, So, if you further divide them, you have the high strings, the low strings. Same thing, high winds, mid winds, the lower winds, the high brass, the low brass. The percussions, we have the percussions, depending on the genre, we have tons and tons of percussion family. But for the keyboard orchestration today, will be very basic and should serve your purpose, what we are going to be discussing today. So, for the strings family, you really need to understand what is the instrument range, and then what are the capabilities of the instrument, and what is the capability of this instrument. What can this keyboard do? This keyboard cannot do everything a live orchestra is doing. As a solo keyboard player, this instrument cannot do everything, but it can try to go very close to an extent to what the real orchestra does. It has a lot of limitations, technological limitations, but although as time goes on, there will be several improvements on these keyboards. As time goes on, there will be several improvements. But for now, there are pure limitations that you can't do magic about them. Sometimes when some directors, conductors request for some things on these instruments, sometimes it can be very ridiculous, but then we try our best to pull out what we can from this instrument. So understanding the different families, first of all, we'll be looking at the strings family. So the strings family, before you choose a sound, a voice on the instrument, you should listen. Listening is a very important aspect of orchestration. What am I hearing? What sound is that? What is the function of that sound? Is it supporting or is it leading? So when you have discovered, okay, this is a string instrument playing, what articulation is that instrument playing? The string can play marcato, legato, pizzicato, spiccato, and all that. So you have to ask yourself, what articulation is this instrument giving at this particular time? Is there a combination of it? How do you achieve it? On this particular instrument, on these SX series, you will see some instruments that are written S-art 2, S-art plus, and S-art. So S-art is super articulation 2, super articulation plus, and just super articulation. It means that those instruments are not just flat instruments. They are dynamic. They are very dynamic. Look at this violin now. This is jazz violin. You see, the same C. Now it's giving me a vibrato. But when I do staccato, you can see very straight sound. So it's an S-art2, a super articulation 2 voice. So you have to know, will this instrument serve the purpose of what I want to do? You know, at what point would I want to use an instrument that behaves that way? This is S-art plus staccato. That's a kind of a spiccato. Then also listen to the environment of the instrument, because these instruments we are recorded live. Some of them we are just sampled, but some of them we are recorded live. So listen to the ambience and everything. You see here, that's kind of a tremolo effect. Sorry, my volume is very loud. So you have to decide, is this serving the purpose I want? Then you have the name of this string is Kino Strings 1. You see, this is more gentle. So it's just a super articulation voice, not like the super articulation 2s and all that. So this is a Kino Strings violin. It's a super articulation voice also. So you need to understand how these instruments behave on their own. Then, when you understand how they behave, that will give you an idea of how you will use them in actual live performance. So that's one of the things you really need to do. For every family, whether strings, woodwinds, check the flutes, S-art. So you see, it's responding to my articulation. Legato, you see, it's responding well to my staccato. That's how, that's the improvement that Yamaha did. You see, it's not like the classical flute, the super articulation orchestral flute. You see my staccato, look at classical flute. You see, it's not giving that full staccato effect. So it's telling you that the super articulations are recent modifications and improvements Yamaha did on some of these voices. So you have the clarinets there and all that. You have your oboe. It's a super articulation. It's another super articulation also. So when you look at the instrument and then you see super articulation or whatever, that tells you that, okay, this instrument behaves this way or that way. Okay. The same thing for your brass. Let's go to brass here. The same thing, you have the soft trumpet. Super articulation. It's a super articulation. Can you hear? You can hear the vibrato at the end of the phrase. Very interesting. Look at the classic trumpet. The vibrato comes a little bit earlier here. Okay, so those are the things you really need to check. What do you want from, because some of them are already edited. That's why I said we can't do sound design again here. We can only do editing. You can only edit voices here. Now, if we go to percussion, you have lots of instruments here: the vibraphone, marimba, then the orchestral harp, then the popular timpani. So most of us avoid this timpani. Yeah, but prefer to use it maybe for production or when you're actually recording the music. But it's very beautiful for Baroque music, because the other one we use is tutti, the tutti voice, the orchestral tutti. Yeah. You see, the orchestral tutti has the basses and the low brass also. You have the low brass, the cello, the double bass, and then the velocity at a high velocity, you get the cymbal. So it's more of a 19th century effect, yes, orchestral effect. You don't want to use it for Baroque music. For a proper Baroque music, you want to use your typical timpani sound. Yeah, so because of in the Baroque music, mostly the timpanis are tuned to tonic and dominant. So most times and all that, you may not even get that. And that's all. So, but for the orchestral tutti, you have because of the development of the timpani moved from just tonic and dominant to other melodic notes. So you can have the scale, because now that's why you have those other those notes playing alongside the basses and the low brass. So that is it for the orchestra instruments. Then the next thing you have to understand also is that these instruments in real life have ranges. You cannot be playing a music like for Unto Us a Child is Born, and then you'll be playing this. This is possible for professionals at a very high level. Yes, it is possible for these trumpets to play here, but then in real live situations, in real orchestrations, you will just have, this is the range where the strings shine. So you really need to understand the ranges of this instrument, so you won't be playing an instrument where it is not the sweet spot. An instrument like the oboe, I should have one here. Yeah, the sweet spot is around here to here. It can play up to here, and Yamaha even gave you this. I even gave you this. The Yamaha gave you range. The oboe is playing as low as the C1 up to this C6. So, but because you have it doesn't mean you'll use it. You have to use the instrument based on how it should be used in real life. So you need to understand the instrument range and then the sweet spot. Yeah, some of these instruments can go crazily high, but then you wouldn't want to use them at those ranges. That's what makes the orchestration very beautiful. Yeah, so you need to really understand the range and capability of those instruments. You cannot select a trumpet. Let's choose a trumpet, and then you'll be playing it. Yeah, the trumpet range starts from here on a normal. Sorry, I think F sharp or something like that. But then it doesn't. Yamaha give you other lower notes, but it's not for you to use. It's not for you to use at that range. The trumpets are very bright around these. This is an X art trumpet, soft trumpet too. So you really need to understand the ranges of instruments. So proper study of orchestration itself outside this keyboard, it will be very helpful. Proper study of orchestration outside the keyboard is necessary. How does orchestra work? How does this instrument in the orchestra work? What is their range and how do they work? That will help you to know what you can do when it comes to you orchestrating and selecting your instrument here. So that is it for the voices and the ranges. It's very important to know this. For every instrument, I won't be able to start going through all the instruments to tell you the range, the sweet spot, and the articulations. But it is something you can actually sit down and figure out. So to make it less stressful, listen and then go directly to find out what am I hearing? How can I pull it out from this keyboard? So that is it. Now, taking you to the editing interface of what happens here on the keyboard. I'll take you through that.